God of War has always been a popular series. Ever since its first title on the PS2, Sony had plenty of people hooked with its fun combat and use of Greek mythology. But ever since God of War on the PlayStation 4 released, the series slowed down and focused on telling a compelling narrative instead of just slaying gods. They focused on telling a story about Kratos and Atreus and the world around them. God of War on PS4 was a great title, and everyone was excited to see what would come next in Ragnarök. While I was taking my sweet time with God of War PS4, everyone else was falling in love with Ragnarök. But now that I finally finished the game for myself, I figured I'd make a review about it. I'm sure most of you know it's very in character for me to review games that have been out for a while. But anyways, let's talk about this great game. Unlike how I normally start with the story, I just have to talk about the characters and their development first. For a while, Atreus was searching for the giants for answers about his prophecy, which makes Kratos ultimately feel deceived. Kratos constantly accuses Atreus of lying, which led to Atreus calling Kratos out for having secrets of his own. Kratos and Atreus have on and off fights about trusting each other and keeping secrets. Eventually, they argue enough for Atreus to run away from home. But where I think these characters peak is near the end. In God of War PS4, Kratos doesn't really connect all that well with Atreus. Kratos yells at him, constantly critiques him, and overall doesn't seem all that pleasant to be around. But we see moments where Kratos wants to express his love for Atreus, but is unable to. At the end of Ragnarök, we see Kratos trusting his son more and expressing that he wants him to stay safe because he cares about Atreus. The father-son relationship improves so much, and it's amazing to see. He trusts Atreus a lot more and does a better job supporting him. Along with that, we also see Kratos be a lot more open about himself and his past. We hear him talking about what it was like growing up in Sparta, what kinds of weapons he trained with. We even hear him open up about how he accidentally killed his wife and daughter, which is very different from how closed off he was in God of War PS4. We also see Atreus grow as a person as well. He's a lot more independent and a better decision maker, but at the same time he also gets controlled by his emotions and sometimes doesn't think very far ahead. But he has improved as a character, which is good to see. The game is filled with plenty of memorable characters too, like Brok, Sindri, Freyr, and my personal favorite character, Mimir. They were all very well written and interacted well with the other characters. Even the characters you're not supposed to like are done great. Heimdall had an aura of undeserving cockiness, and Odin's manipulation was subtle but still noticeable. God of War Ragnarök may not have a huge roster of characters, but the ones we do get to engage with are done pretty much perfectly. I genuinely have no problem with any of the characters. I really did enjoy them. Let's talk about the story now. I enjoyed the story a lot in God of War Ragnarök. It had a narrative that seemed to fit the God of War franchise better than the game that came before it. Instead of trying to get to the highest point in all the realms to spread ashes, the story makes you anticipate a war between two gods. That's not to say the story in God of War PS4 was bad, far from it, but in my opinion, Ragnarök has a better and more impressive story. It was really interesting to see Kratos and Odin interacting, anticipating they might be at war with each other, even though Kratos makes it clear war is the last thing he wants. And it was so weird to see Atreus fully embrace the war that could be coming. He even tried to recruit Freya even though they weren't on good terms at the time. And while the story was amazing, I thought the ending was the best part. It was filled with a lot of emotion, and really showed us what kind of characters Kratos and Atreus have become. It did a good job of wrapping up everything in the story in a satisfying way. I also liked how the story was able to stay somewhat simple but still have complexities to make it interesting. There were also plenty of plot twists that actually did surprise me. I really enjoyed the writing in this game. Along with all the character development I described earlier and the epic tale the game set out to tell, the entire narrative for this game was amazingly executed. I thought it was awesome. Of course, we have to talk about the gameplay next. The combat is very similar to God of War PS4, but that's not a bad thing. That game had excellent combat mechanics that were fun to mess around with. Ragnarök made minor tweaks to help make the game feel more fun and technical. They added Valor and Wrath to Spartan Rage, which gives you more options during combat. We also see the return of runic attacks and upgradable weapons and armor. And I need to talk about the boss fights in this game. I thought the boss fights in God of War PS4 were good, but Ragnarök took it to a whole new level. I thought they were so cinematic and thrilling. Every time a boss would appear, I got excited. And by far, my favorite boss in this game was Heimdall. The entire time he was presented as a smug and cocky character, which made it easy to dislike him. So when the time came to finally throw down with him, it made the victory 100 times more satisfying. The game contains plenty of optional boss fights you can participate in as well. I did enjoy the Berserker boss fights, but I thought the Valkyries from God of War PS4 were more enjoyable. The Valkyries felt more threatening and dangerous, but the Berserkers were more like a test of patience since they would attack and then run away. At least the Valkyries were more active and really tested your combat abilities, but that doesn't mean the Berserkers weren't fun. I still enjoyed fighting them, and the focus on patience instead of aggression is enjoyable. Just like this game's predecessor, there are plenty of collectibles and side quests littered throughout the map. I usually don't try to fully complete games, but I would be interested in collecting everything in this game. All the side quests and collectibles aren't super difficult from what I've played, so I wouldn't be opposed to collecting and finishing everything this game has to offer. This game also has an amazing OST and sound design. I found all the music to be really good and well composed. I thought all the music fit the cutscenes well. Even the theme that plays on the PS5 home screen is very well made. I also thought the voice acting and dialogue was very enjoyable. Christopher Judge does an amazing job as Kratos, along with Danielle Basutti as Freya, Richard Schiff as Odin, and everyone else. Everyone in this game delivers a great performance. All the voice actors really did a great job. In my opinion, God of War Ragnarök is an amazing game, and a great sequel to another great game. I haven't played every game in the series or followed the game since day one, but this game really has gotten me interested in the characters and the world around it. I think God of War Ragnarök is a gem, one of the best games I've ever played, and I think everyone who's played it will agree. It does so many things perfectly without sacrificing other qualities. Like I said earlier, I haven't been a God of War fan for a long time, but Santa Monica Studios has done a really wonderful job and shown us how amazing video games can be. I love God of War Ragnarök, and I'm excited to see where the series goes next, because this game truly is a masterpiece.